Hi everyone, this is Scott back with the Dunlending Warcry. I'm just giving some updates to myself, the channel, and then some event information. Just to start, so some of you might have seen me talking about having moved. I have moved from Los Angeles to Detroit. I'm now in Michigan, which is little good for events. We built up a lot in Southern California. Had I believe 18 events last year, and it's definitely rolling. I have a few more events that I'm going to be able to attend out here between the Great Lakes Hobbit League here in Michigan and then also the Ontario Strategy Battle Game League right across the border. Um, I'm going to try and do some more stuff in regards to posting gameplay. I do want to do some more recordings of tabletop simulator games, and then I also want to try and do some in-person game recordings. It's not really my forte, but I'm going to try. Um, and then just general stuff about the game, some more strategy stuff, especially as I'm playing a lot more in person now. It'll be great to get a lot more of my thoughts down on the table for others to see. But with that, I wanted to talk about an event I attended in Ontario a couple weeks ago on Saturday the 10th. It was a 500 point 4 round event. It was random scenarios, so no veto. We did not know what it was going to be, so it got rolled day of. It had 40 attendees, which was awesome. I believe they had the event last year, but it didn't hit this number. But this is a massive amount. 40 is big for North America in general. There were only a few events that hit that number last year. I want to say 3 or 4. So this is a really good start to the year happening this early. It's definitely going to step up the game for event competition, especially as we roll into the North American Masters that relies on having these events hit a certain size in order to qualify for a ticket, which is reviewed at the end of the year. So there's a good chance if none of the Ontario events beat this could be the ticket winner, um, which would be nice for me, hopefully, because I'm I think I'm going to do well in the Ontario League. I don't know how well I'll do, but if I can, I might be able to get a ticket. Uh, Obviously, for those that are in the know, I helped do a lot of the NA Masters organization for this year, but I purposely excluded myself. That way, I can remain as impartial as possible towards having it happen. It is happening. We've got stuff going on. The tickets are out. Adepticon tickets went out. We have this event happening, which is great. But when it comes to this event, I managed to come in second. Try and zoom in a little bit further here. So Steve beat me out a little bit with his Lothlorien, but I was playing Usurpers. It was Mr. Frecka, a bird, and then a whole bunch of hobos. I had 52 models, and they performed solidly. So in the first round, played Jacob against his Iron Hills. He had Dane and a bunch of dwarves. It was to the death. It's just model count is model count. Now I was in a dangerous position early with Dane up. He was just going ham. I was losing a lot of models. I believe I broke in the end. Or no, I came just shy of breaking, but I was very close. But Dane ultimately, he whiffed it. And hobos cut him down. I believe they did 6 wounds to him in one go when he was surrounded, I believe, by 10 guys. It was a lot of damage. But I took that. Then I went into Beornings against Ben in Fog of War. It was a bit dicey early. The Bears were rolling pretty well. But Grim Beorn lost a duel, took, I want to say, down to 1 wound, 0 fate. And then he finally lost another duel and kicked the bucket. And then my Protect managed to stay on the field, but his target of mine ran away. But I got ahead just on the killing of Grim Beorn. No one had managed their terrain because the game ended on the first turn. Then against Brian, who was part of my carpool going up, we played Hold Ground. It was really dicey early in the game. The elves are really going crazy on me. They had distance to start shooting, but not many died in shooting. I really ran straight at them. I think I spent about 5 or so might on marches and just ran across the table. But in the end, Thranduil did lose a couple duels, and he went down. Once he went down, Frekka's rule activated, which also happened in Iron Hills. The Iron Hills match, Frekka's rule for Banner actually worked and gave me some rerolls that really started pushing it, and I managed to steal back the center, which was pretty dicey for some time. Um, then going into the last round, it was, unfortunately for my opponent, a lot more of a dream matchup. Hatred Rohan is disgusting on Hobo Spears this edition. It does so much damage for so little cost. There was some early play that could have seen him get a lead, especially I had Freck in a pretty dangerous position with an Aimer nearby. But I got lucky with some of the combats, and I mean, I won all the move offs, I'm pretty sure. And I managed to just start running away with it. I didn't make it off the board with 2 of the objectives, but 1 got off. But I was about 2 turns away with Frecka and 1 turn away with another chief for running off. That would have gotten me a couple more points. Ultimately, I placed second. Couldn't quite catch Steve because he did some pretty sizable scores between going 14-4, 15-6 on the first 2 compared to my lighter games, and then a 20-0 into a 23. Just I can't keep up with that amount of VPs. He was playing Celeborn and a buddy. A lot of bows, a lot of elves. He had a knight for mobility, and it managed to work out for him to take him really high on the VPs. Fortunately for him, there was no 5th round. Otherwise, he would have had to deal with me, and I would have beat those elves over the head. But he got away with it this time. I'll just have to match him on the next one, hopefully. With that, the event that I'm going to tomorrow, so I'm recording this today on Friday the 23rd because the list went public this morning. I'm going over to a nearby event, Keep It Secret, Keep It Safe, just by me in Michigan. It's 650 points, 4 rounds. The scenarios are Divide and Conquer, Seize the Prize, Hold Ground, and Breakthrough. So they're pretty beneficial towards Horde armies, and naturally, I'm playing Usurpers. I've been not down on White Hand. I'm a little hesitant with it just because Strength 3 shooting is pretty nasty. It's forced me to go a lot more defensive, upgrading to Dunlendings or Orc Warriors a lot more to have defense 4 or higher. But at 650 and below, I'm not the biggest fan of White Hand. I think it misses some tools. And that's where I just take Usurpers. Bring a bunch of bodies, use my positioning strengths. I'm pretty meticulous when it comes to where I put my models, looking for traps, looking for longer term plays of getting around the table and all that. And it's definitely been to my benefit. But with that, I've got the lists up on a spreadsheet. We do have the first round pairings. There are 20 of us that are playing. They tossed everything up today. So I'm going to jump over. I'm going to start actually with the stats here. So army-wise, there are 3 depths. We'll see in a minute. Only 2 of them are Balrog, and one of them is pretty spicy. We have 2 Arnors, 2 Hosts, 2 Return of the King, and then a whole bunch of one-offs: Great Eye, Ravenhill, Atop the Walls, Birder, Grand Army, Minas Morgul, Muster, Reclamation, Rivendell, Usurpers, and Wolves of Isengard. There are 12 good lists and only 8 evil, so good is showing up in force. Monster-wise, there are 14 lists that do not have a monster and 6 that do, which is pretty important. We'll get to in a second on why. And then also another stat, having a caster or not. 8 lists have a caster in them. Some of them do have more than one, and 12 do not. The average model count is sitting at 34.1, which is pretty good for 650 points. However, there are a few outlier lists, so taking them out brings it down to about 31.1. So most of the lists are in the lower 30s, higher 20s. With that, so another detail of this event is that we're using the secret objective cards at the back of the match play guide. So each round, we're going to pick 3 out of the 12, and then between them, your opponent's going to randomly select one, and then that's your secret objective for the game that you can score. If you score it, you get 1 tournament point that round. So it can be a total of 4 tournament points throughout the day, that's big. That's an extra game and a third. So I have a feeling that that's going to determine the winner. And once you have picked a card, even if it's scored, not scored, it's gone for the rest of the day. So you're going to use all 12. Some of them are not scoreable. So if they don't have a monster and you put the monster card down and it pulls, you're not getting a TP. Same for the caster one. So part of the strategy of the day is determining when it is a good time to use different cards. I'm going to talk about my first round cards because I'm in a pretty stuck situation, as we'll see, when it comes to those cards. But with that, the lists we're going to go through. So the first pairing is Hamzer with his Atop the Walls. I say his, just I haven't met most of these people. I don't know their genders. I'm generally stay neutral. Atop the Wall, it is 644, so he's down a few points, and he could take more, but it might be a limitation of models. He's got Gandalf on Shadowfax with 4 Knights, which is a really solid core of the list. And then he's got Irolas with a few Citadel Guard with Spear and Bow, some Warriors of Minas Tirith lurking about, and then a Knight of the White Tower with some more Warriors of Minas Tirith. It's a solid amount of models, 28 for 650, and paying 225 for Gandalf. It is not bad. It's a solid core. If Gandalf really pops off, he's going to pop off hard. This list could do some real damage. And then their opponent is Shadowcat 6, bringing Minas Morgul. It's got a few more models than them. It's got the Witch King with a 2-hand weapon on a horse, which can do some serious damage. On someone who's shut down with magic, running in with that extra die and a 2-hander, you can definitely do some real damage. Or you Black Dart their horse out from under them. Solid. He does have some Morgul Stalkers in here. So there's a Spectre, a Morgul Stalker, some Morannons, some Orcs. There is a Troll hopping along. And then there are just a few more Morannons and Orcs. It's a solid list. It's got a few more Morannons than I'd take. But the Morgul Stalkers can definitely do some damage. From my recollection, they do still have 2 attacks. They're not seen too much, but I'd be interested to see if they really get to sneak around effectively and take out some things. One thing you don't see too often is the Mordor Orc Shaman on a Warg. They can take Wargs. It's very overlooked with how they have the Legions of Middle-earth section in Armies of Middle-earth. It's weird. They talk about restrictions rather than what they get. So most lists talk about what war gear you can take that's in the roster. But in that section, you could take whatever you want unless it says you can't. So like Imrahil at Men in the West cannot take a armored horse and lance. But the Mordor Orc Shaman just gets added in places. And it says you can or can't. Which is a little weird, but that's how they did it. So it's this will be a real nice thematic matchup. A lot of these first round matchups are very thematic, where they could be. So Gandalf fighting the Witch King. It's pretty cool. Next up, we have Memes de Mundi running Grand Army of the South. A war leader, we're getting the Mumak, is making an appearance with some Haradrim on top. And then a Easterling group between a captain, a cataphract, and some halberds and a banner. So it's going to push a lot of pressure onto the war leader to perform. But if it does, it's going to be very hard. At 650, not everyone's going to have the tools to actually deal with it. And then their opponent for the first round is Andrew H. running Return of the King. Pretty buck standard. Aragorn, the King, Legolas, and some Warriors of the Dead. There's not a whole lot to talk about with this list. It's just, it brings what it brings. This is going to be an interesting matchup because Aragorn could definitely kill the Mumak, but it's got to watch out for that charge. It still is going to hit those Warriors of the Dead pretty hard on the charge, so it's got to use its mobility with the 8-inch move ghosts and really get around there. Next, we have Michael Debaticus. I've played him online a little bit through TTS. He is bringing Army of the Great Eye with a catapult. So this one's going all in on some damage from the catapult with a Witch King to follow up and swoop up some people. It also has the crown and a bunch of Black Númenóreans. So it's looking for that terror shutdown, that uber terror, to lock down opposing models for the Witch King to go in and do some damage to. And also maybe even the War Catapult to sweep up some stuff that gets stuck in place. It's a little lower model count, but with known objectives of where they're going to be, you can really cover some stuff very well. It is fighting Tristan with Reclamation of Osgiliath, bringing out Boromir, Faramir, and Madril, and pretty solid number at 31, considering that Boromir is 225. It's got some Warriors of Minas Tirith, some veterans, a knight, and then some rangers on top of that. It's got 12 bows, which is a solid number for this. It can definitely put some pressure, especially against the 0 bow but siege engine Army of the Great Eye. It can put some range pressure on those Númenóreans and Morannons. that hopefully makes up for the catapult damage. Next, we have Muxi running Birder's Horde. It's got 2 Wild Warg Chieftains, which I don't personally favor them, but I know they can do damage if they get the opportunity. It still does have 30 models, and it still does have 2 Hill Trolls. So in this context, it's still a pretty solid pick. It's got some serious damage threat overload. These models, some armies can't deal with all 4 of them together. 5 if you include Birder. Might be a little hard. But it's got a solid core with the Angmar Orcs, and then a couple groups of Warg Riders and Wargs for the outside for mobility. And then it is facing Arnor, they're still angry against Angmar beating them up under Jonathan. He's got Arvidui, Aranarth, Malbeth, and the captain, and then just a bunch of Rangers, bunch of Warriors. I think it's just the 1 knight, but it's got 13 bows. Malbeth's Feel No Pain is pretty difficult to deal with, especially with Strength 3 Orcs, but the Hill Trolls and Warg Chiefs could do some serious damage to this. But if those lose the duel, they're going to take some damage, especially the Hill Trolls. I believe they have the Angmar keyword. They're going to take some damage from that hatred. Next up, we have Owen running Muster of Isengard. 35 at 650 is a pretty solid number. It doesn't have too many berserkers. It went all in on warriors, but still 35 is a lot for this list. I mean, some 800 point model, 800 point lists are not that much higher than this. At that point, they're just going for more berserkers. He doesn't have a banner, which could make it difficult, but having 35, it's kind of okay with that. You could afford to lose some duels, especially with the later breakpoint. But it's Saruman, Grima, 2 captains, and then he's got 8 crossbows, which can also do some damage. Again, scenarios where you know where the objectives are. If you get those posted up at the right point, they can really lay down the law. And then facing off against Arnor, so not quite a thematic matchup, but they're men, so it gives Hatred Man some use. But it does put it against things that match it on fight. Doesn't quite match it on ranged firepower, but the Feel No Pain is an active thing. Now, this list does have 8 Knights of Arnor with Argadir. And those guys can lay down the law on the charge. They're so powerful. Them with Argadir running into a line of Uryx, knocking them down, taking away shield wall, it can do some real stuff. And the pikes might be able to kill the horses, but ultimately, those knights, if they win those duels, they can really clip a lot of Isengard's troops down. Next up, we have Brian running Depths. So this is the first Balrog list. It's just pretty standard. He does have 2 Black Shield captains, which is really cool. But past that, shields, spears, a few prowlers. 43 at 650, pretty solid for the Balrog. Could go higher if you drop to regular captains and no prowlers, but I think the extra utility of the 2-hander Black Shields can do some real damage. And it's facing off against Rivendell. So Elrond's hatred of spirits will matter here, or +1. Elrond's coming in with a horse, a banner, 10 shield and spears. Arwen on Asfloth with 8 shield and spears, and then Lindir to help Elrond out and give him some bows. So not as many bows as it can take, but 18 shield and spear elves is a really flexible battle line that can really hold up when supported by Elrond and Arwen's casting. This could be pretty dangerous for a lot of lists to run into. I mean, if they simply roll 6s, they definitely will. And they've got the tools to be able to make it so that those 6s mean a whole lot with knockdowns. The second Balrog, so this one went a little more buck standard. It's got 2 captains and a shaman, but it doesn't have any spears. It was quite interesting to see. It's looking like it's just holding on stuff. It's also could just be, I want to double check to make sure I did it right. It could just be a filler stuff that maybe needed to be adjusted that wasn't. Yeah, it doesn't have any spears, which will be interesting. I'm hoping that maybe that was just a filler that'll be corrected. Now, it could just be going for the delay. Shield every time with the goblins. Look for the Balrog to do a lot of work. Or just get onto objectives, especially with these scenarios, and just hang on. That's a valid play. I don't know that goblins are the best to do that, but if they can hold on, they can hold on. 2 dice and a board-wide banner can do a lot especially bumped up fight near the Balrog just to camp out against some of the fight 3 armies. And it is facing off against a Return of the King. Similar to the other one, it's got one less model, but it does have a few more war gear equipment on Legolas and Aragorn. But past that, Buck Standard, 3 of them, some warriors. It could do pretty solid, especially it can fight the Balrog, so it'll be an interesting thing. Aragorn does get to have a fun time seeing how many goblins he can kill. Then we run into mine. So I'm running usurpers, like I said. This has basically been my formula. This is slightly different. My formula is better served for even hundreds. This is a little odd. But I'm at 648, 66 models. I could have rounded. I did cave. I built 2 flaming brands with shields, so I could round for this. But I didn't paint them yet. So I'm making an effort this year to only run painted armies. I do have this army painted. But I just have Freka and a whole lot of dudes. 21 bows at 66 is nothing to scoff at. Freka bringing fight value is very much grown on me. It's started to have an impact over the course of more games. But unfortunately, that fight value means a whole lot of nothing. Because I'm playing against Keith's Assault on Raven Hill, which is, I just have nightmares. I played against it with White Hand back several months ago, and it just rolled crazy. It was 6s the whole time, 6s to resist spells. Feely and Keely getting bumped up to 3 attacks is pretty nasty here, combined with their reroll and the banner from Thorn. Oh my god, the free heroic combats that can happen here. Oh, it's scary. This is definitely, I have the advantage being that the first round is divide and conquer, but if he rolls solid, I just can't cut through this, even with the +1 to wound, because I'm not confident I'll win any duels. I got to win the duels to get the +1. So it can be sketchy. Legolas is definitely going to be on 17 here at least, but then moving into the next one with Dan Lapala. So this is the non-Balrog depths, and he just went all out. This is an assumed breakdown of troops. He did drive me crazy with his submission, where he just submitted it as a bunch of goblins. Let me find this crazy person. Where is his? So he just submitted it as a group. 6 captains, 1 shaman, 25 bows, 24 shields. I believe this is supposed to be 24 spears. That's my assumption. So I just did a random breakdown. I don't know that this accurately matches the numbers. It does match. But he's got a lot of models. I have a feeling we're going to face off at some point. We both have the models to win Divide and Conquer just on that. But he is facing off against Host the Dragon Emperor, which takes away the spam and puts quality. A bunch of D6, banners all around. Rutabi and the Emperor can really cut through some troops. It's going to be an actual match. Now the question of divide is being split, but he does, I believe, he has a cataphract, so he can speed up and run across the board, as opposed to the goblins who have to march every turn. But that one's going to be a real bloodbath. And then down to the last matchup is The Rock with his host. It's a little bit different than the other. It's got a cataphract captain, which I haven't seen in practice before, but I think at this point level it might be okay. It's got a one more model than the other one, but it also does have a couple war drakes, which are going to be interesting. I have only seen them in action once. I'm a bit mixed on them, but if they get a hero in their mouth, they're gonna get it weaker, and then it's gonna get just mopped up by other things, which is really cool to see. And then they're playing against Aaron. It did note it's being fixed. There is a Warg Rider that has no equipment, which was noted. He's probably going to just have to drop a shield or throwing spear off one of the combos. But it's Wolves of Isengard. 38 models at 650 is a lot. Most of them being cavalry. I believe it's 31 of them are cavalry. It's got 7 wargs. That's a lot of cavalry for this point level. It's got a couple shamans to keep things in the mix. It can enrage those wargs to do some real damage to their death. But this one is definitely an interesting matchup to see. Can the Easterling quality outweigh the dice and the knockdown of the cavalry? But that's all the lists. And then I mentioned I wanted to talk about my thoughts towards the secret objectives. So when it comes to my matchup, like I said, playing against Assault on Ravenhill. There's kind of two schools of thought. So Divide and Conquer, if it goes to my favor, I can win on objective holding. He's got to cut down a lot of guys, and he might not get to the one that matters, especially the middle. I can play for certain ones, namely take and hold is hold the middle, which I'm going to try and do anyway, which is a solid one. Worthy Leader is just keep Freka from taking any wounds or fate and just hold on, which is another thing I can manage if he hides well. And then Unsung Hero is keep the cheapest hero model alive at the end of the game, which I can do. I got Chiefs, they can hide one. I think I can score any given one of those, but the other school is there are other ones that I will have difficulty elsewhere. I could just throw them away. So, for example, Duel to the Death is my leader killing the opposing leader. Combat Master is a single model getting 10 kills, and then Minimize Casualties is stay above 75%. I'm probably not scoring those in any game. So I could, while I can play for it, I can toss those out as a get rid of them, take the L on that, hope that I win the game, and then recover with the others in future games where I actually have a reasonable chance of scoring them. I'm mixed on what I'm going to try for. I haven't decided. I think it'll be interesting either way. But it's going to be a fun day. I'd like to do well. I think the scenarios, like I said, I think are to my favor a little bit. So I think if I do my right positioning, I might be able to carry the day. Just really depends. There are a couple lists in here that I might have problems with. The 80 goblins could be a problem. The hosts of the Dragon Emperor could be an issue if they just outlast me. I'm concerned about Muster simply on hatred. It's going to cut down every model that loses a duel against. But I think there's not a whole lot beyond that that really scares me. The Mumok could, just because I don't really have the wounding power to kill it. That one might be an issue. But I feel pretty confident against the rest of them. But with that, that's all these. Towards the future, I'm attending some other events in the near future on top of this. I do want to come back and talk about some of them. I'll probably focus on the Michigan ones to talk about, since a lot of the Ontario ones get covered by their groups. I'm not going to take away from their ability to talk about their events, unless I win it. Then I'm gonna talk about it. But I'm attending a event in Ontario on the 7th, March of the Dead. I'm probably bringing usurpers to that. I'm probably bringing usurpers to most things right now. I'm just having more fun with them than White Hand at the moment. And then there is a Great Lakes event next month, I believe on the 21st, that I'll be at. And then March has a whole lot of events. There is one down in Ohio on the 21st that I think I'm going to. And then Adepticon, of course, at the end of the month. There's a whole lot in the near future. Hopefully I see some people out there, especially a lot of the people I've talked to in the past, that I'm finally in an area that I can meet a bunch of them, and then get some more games in. But with that, I will talk to everyone later. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. You can see more videos. I'm going to try and do some more posts in the future. I'm very motivated. Doing painting stuff. I mean, I painted 650 points. That's more than I've done in like a year and a half. It'll be great. If you haven't joined the North American Discord, you should do that. That launched a few weeks ago. We're collecting information between events, links to different areas, general community stuff. We're doing some hobby nights on Sundays. It's going to be a fun time. The link for that will be below. And I'll see you all later.